We celebrate today the feast of Saint Mark. He's one of our gospel writers and evangelists, wrote the Gospel of Mark, but he's not an apostle. He didn't know Jesus during his lifetime. So you may wonder, where did he get his material for the gospel? Well, we heard in our first reading, Peter writing from Rome and alluding to the presence of his beloved spiritual son, Mark. So the tradition is that Mark was in Rome with Peter, and so heard about the Lord Jesus from Peter, and the Gospel of Mark reflects what Peter taught in Rome as the first pope. Word about the Gospel itself. First off, it's very short, 16 chapters, the shortest of the four Gospels, and it's worth at some point reading it through cover to cover, so to speak. Maybe not in one sitting, but maybe two. The advantage there is that so often we hear short gospel passages at Mass in little snippets, and we can lose sight of the big picture. After all, the Gospels, each one of them, is a cohesive whole, and it's worth taking a look at that. Mark, in particular, is very much tightly put together and very cohesive, so you can follow the succession of events, the movements from place to place, quite easily with the Gospel of Mark. So read it. A second note is that it really brings through quite strongly the identity and the mission of Jesus, perhaps more clearly than the other Gospels. It starts off right off the bat with this line, the beginning of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. A clear identity statement in the first verse. Now, we know that as the readers, the apostles have to learn it little by little. So as the gospel unfolds, we see that Jesus, little by little, is showing who he is through his teachings and through the signs, the miracles that he works. The devils, the demons recognize him, but Jesus tells them to be quiet as little by little the apostles come to know them. And then in chapter 8, exactly halfway through, there is that famous confession on the part of Peter. You are the Christ. From that point on, things change. Beginning in chapter 8, when the apostles recognize that Jesus is the Messiah, then he has to teach them what he really came to do. And so 3 times he teaches about his upcoming passion and death, that is what he came for. And that leads to ultimately those very events that we just remembered in the Paschal Triduum. So a beautiful presentation of who Jesus is, what he did for us, how he came to save us, and how we can follow in his footsteps.